Good evening. This is Elder Walker once again back with a new segment we're calling Church Love. We'll be talking to different bishops, pastors throughout the country, allowing you to get a chance to get to know them. We appreciate you guys for watching. This week we have a couple on here that's very dear to my heart, very special to me. I love them very much. They're a big part of me. A lot of people call them Bishop and First Lady Walker, and I call them mom and dad. They're my actual mom and my dad. I appreciate it. I love them. And just gonna ask mom and dad if you can come on, just introduce yourself to us real quick.
Hello, I am Bishop David L. Walker from Jerusalem Temple Apostolic Church. Praise the Lord, everybody.
Praise the Lord. I'm First Lady Marilyn Walker from Jerusalem Temple Apostolic Church.
All right, all right. And Bishop, we know that you and First Lady have been together for quite some time. And if you could remember back, I know it might be hard, but if you could remember back to when life was before you got married, what was life like before First Lady Walker?
It was good, but when I got her, it was very good. Praise the Lord. But I grew up as a young man from Mississippi, moved to Iowa, raised by my grandparents. Went to school up here, elementary, junior high, and high school, and graduated, and went into the military. I have really enjoyed my single life as a young man, but I always knew God had more for me than just to be single.
All right, all right. And First Lady, what was life like before Bishop Walker? I know you had tons of things and that there, but what was life like before Bishop Walker?
It was good. I'm born and raised right here in the Quad City area, and I went to one of the best high schools, Rock Island High School. And I graduated from Rock Island in 1966. And I enjoyed high school. I enjoyed because I started working when I was 13 years old.
Oh, wow. That's
Yes,
good.
I started working when I was 13, and I quit working when I was 1993.
Oh, man, you worked a long time.
Not long enough.
Bishop, did you do any sports when you were younger?
Yes, I enjoy sports very much. I mostly wrestled in junior high school, and in high school, I did a little track, but not that much where I could brag about it. But a little basketball in some of the community health centers, not health centers, but community gym. I enjoyed that very much, participating with other young men in the athletic field.
Okay, good, good. Now, firstly, you said you played sports too. Were you an athlete too?
I did not play high school sports. I enjoyed as outings we went to playing softball, and I did enjoy tennis while we were in school. And I didn't do much outside activities because I worked and I helped take care of my mom.
Oh, okay, okay. So, real quick, gonna kind of set the groundwork for talking about the marriage point we're talking about tonight. Bishop, what was it like, or how did you come to know the Lord? How did you? What was it like before? Who was your pastor? What was it like? How did you come to know the Lord?
I came to know the Lord through my grandmother. My grandmother, grandfather raised me. My mother was not with me at my younger age, and they was going to the Pentecost Church of God, who was the Bishop A.L. Boyd was the pastor. Very wonderful individual. He was easy to communicate with, and he was like also a father in my life. And I would go to him and talk to him about things, and he would encourage me and kind of guide me, not just as a single young man, but also as a young man that may be interested in the other uh, female. And he instructed us do's and not do's and things that would be uh, beneficial and things that would be appreciated. And as young men, how to carry yourself also in the community and also while you're in school. So I learned quite a bit. I learned quite a bit, and I'm happy for that because I had other ways and ideas and plans in my head that probably would have went against me and hurt
Mm.
me down the road. So I enjoyed it.
All right. And First Lady, what was it like for you?
Um, I enjoy being saved. I enjoyed when I got saved. I Bishop Boyd also was like he was my I called him my spiritual father, and he was like my natural father because my natural father died when I was 11. And when I got saved at the age of 16, and I went to the Pentecostal Church of God, I Bishop Boyd became my like a natural father to me. He told me the different things, and he helped me, and I depended on him. And the late Bishop Melvin Boyd was like my older brother, and
Mm.
Bishop Roy Dawkins were like my two older brothers um, that took me under their wings, and they showed me different things as a young lady in the church, and the do's and the don'ts, um, what to do and what not to do, how to act and what not to act. I enjoyed being saved as a young woman in the church, and I enjoyed being. Um, I just enjoy church because it
Mm.
gave me friends that I never had, and I that's why I met Bishop Walker in the church. Bishop Boyd, Bishop Melvin Boyd, kind of introduced us, and Bishop Boyd, what he went along with it. And Bishop Boyd is trying to tell him pointers about me, and Bishop Melvin Boyd was telling me pointers about him. So therefore, we went on and got married, and we've been together ever since.
Oh wow. Now we know that every story of marriage there's always two sides. So Bishop, if you could tell us the story inside of how you came to want to have interest in First Lady.
Uh, I met her at the Pentecostal Church of God, and I kind of watched her, observed her, how she attend church, how she worship and praise God. Um, some of her interests in things that she liked, things that she didn't like, uh, and she had good work habits. She didn't mind rolling up her sleeve, taking different various jobs. This struck an interest in me.
Mm.
So uh, I knew we had something in common.
So y'all met at church under Bishop L. Boyd,
Correct?
and I guess both of you have alluded to you had guidance toward each other.
Yes.
So somebody guided you guys together. It's like
Sure.
God had spoke and said, "I need these two to come together." Would that be
Right.
accurate?
I would say so.
You got it.
All right, all right.
It
So
was in God's plan.
it was in God's plan because we know that in God's plan you had to create me. So
Yeah, we knew you would be coming down the road.
so with that in mind, what was the dating process like for you guys? Once you figured out that you had an interest in each other, what was that dating process like? If you could talk to about the dating process that you guys kind of went through and what you endured and everything.
The dating process was learning how to address and respect young ladies, uh, and how to conduct yourself in their presence, and also when you're not in their presence, make sure that other people speak well of you and have confidence in you. Have a good work ethics and habits makes a lot of difference. How you save your money, what are you doing with your income? What kind of job do you hope to have?
Mm.
You completed high school. How far do you plan on to extending your education? And these things. They brought these things to light. They laid the pattern out, things that you have to prepare yourself if you're planning on getting married or if you plan on staying single. There's still ways and things that you have to, how do you conduct yourself? So I enjoyed it.
Okay. First lady, what was that dating process like? Did Bishop call you off to know what's going on?
He called, and most of the time we talked when we were at church. And we were at that time we were not permitted to date by ourselves. We had to have a chaperone, and that's when his grandmother became our chaperone.
Oh wow!
And whenever he would take me home, or we go. Well, we didn't go out to eat, but whenever we did anything, his grandmother was there with us, and she chaperoned us, and it was different. To have someone there with you and to watch you and make sure you did everything. It was like the protecting power. It was like they were protecting us and keeping us. And it was watching my older siblings date and things, and this was really different. It was a protecting power because the church had the love there, and it wanted to make sure you did okay, and you were was what God wanted you to be, and you could not be what God wanted you to be if you were not in that realm of being protected. And our pastor made sure that everything was set in order, and he took us under his wings and guided us through, and he helped us do certain things. A lot of times I didn't have a way home from church. So he would take us home. Sometimes him and Bishop Walker would take me home. And sometimes him and Mother Boyd would take me home. And it was very helpful. And I grew to love my pastor as my natural father because the love that he gave to me as a daughter. And he had 2 other daughters and a son. But it was just having someone there to love me and to show me how to be a respectful young woman. And God shined his blessings upon us. And being in the church and seeing is a lot different than dating and courting in the world.
That's good. That's good. So in kind of going with that, so you guys dated, you had the chaperone, you called each other, spent some time together, and
no, I did not call him. We were not permitted to call the guy.
Oh, you didn't call him?
No, I did not call him. And my pastor's wife told me a woman never calls a man. If he wants to talk, he'll call you.
So you called her, Bishop?
Yeah, I had to call her. The only time I could talk to her besides at church was on the phone. So I had to go to the phone booth. You can't stay there too late, though. You can't hang around the phone booth too long. But yeah, I did the calling. I will admit I'm the guilty one.
So you had to call. And ring, ring.
She answered when I called. That's what I like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was always there at the phone hoping that it would rain. And she answered when I called. Oh,
She answered the call.
yes.
All right. Moving right along. So we know you dated. How long did you date before you guys knew it was time?
About a year, because we were still in high school. And we started talking when we were in about my last year of my junior year in high school. And then after we graduated from high school, the following year, we got married.
Mm.
At that time, it was not looked upon as you dated long or you went through a long process. They figure you should know somebody within a year or less.
A year or less. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So who proposed to who?
Well, I kind of proposed to her, and I asked her would she marry me, and she didn't give an answer right then, but she did give us pretty smile.
Oh.
I knew the answer yes was on its way.
First lady, how did that proposal go?
Marilyn, will you marry me? If you don't, I'll find somebody else that will. And I let him know before I could even answer, he had to go and get permission from my mom.
Okay.
And that's what he did, because we already had the pastor's permission to marry, but I wanted my mother to be included in this. So I told him he had to ask my mom. And he did.
He did?
Yes, he did.
Yes, sir. I had to be obedient.
So, Bishop, when you went to ask her mom, what do you recall how that conversation went, or?
Yes, I went to her house and introduced myself and to her mother and told her that I'm the young man that her daughter been dating, and because her mother her health wasn't that good always and everything, so she could not have come to church like the normal person, just get up and come on to church. But it was very, very good. Her mother was very nice. She received me, and she was very happy, and that I was dating her daughter, and then I had enough respect to come and ask my daughter's parents, for their daughter to be my wife, and I would like to have her permission as the mother to grant me permission to marry her daughter. And her mother was very happy, very happy. I think she was just, she wanted me to take care of her. If it didn't want her, send her back home. Don't put your hands on her.
Uh-oh.
She's not your child. Don't be beating
her.
I had no problem with that. Because I had no intention of doing things like that anyway. I came out of situations, seeing things like that from relatives and friends, and marriage don't work good like that.
All right. Is that accurate, First Lady?
Yes. About as accurate as you gonna get. He did go and talk to my mom.
Uh-huh.
And my mom said yes. And I knew how she felt. Because he had called me one day and she said, Marilyn, you better marry that man. He's gonna grow up to be somebody great one day. And when she met him, she knew then that it was okay. Good.
So you had the proposal, you dated, and we're moving right along in the process. How long was your engagement? What was the engagement like coming through there?
it was a little better than just dating because you had the opportunity to spend a little more time, and then you could sit together as well. So it brought us closer, and then because of that, flesh is flesh. It's always good to have a wedding date that's not too far out or away, and because of it's important. People are watching you, and if you're going to be telling somebody else, about what to do and how to do, make sure you're an example of that. So it was good. I enjoyed it.
All right.
It was good. We didn't have a long engagement because when we graduated from high school, that's when he proposed to me after graduation, and then a couple months later, he went into the military. And when he came home on his first leave after his basic training, is when we got married. And then he came home for Christmas, and then I decided to move to Texas with him. And I stayed in Texas with him while he was in the military.
All right. So, and what day did y'all get married on?
October the 15th, 1966.
Whoa, almost 58 years this year that you two will have been happily joined together. And as we know, in moving into our thought of church love, with that in mind, what were the first 2 or 3 years like? How did that go?
Well, the first 2 or 3 years was getting to know each other better and understanding one another. And it's just we didn't have like a normal honeymoon like I wanted to because I was in the military. So it had to be an adjustment. Because of my commitment in the military, and so she was able and willing to put up with that and move out of her comfort zone from Iowa to Texas and to meet and greet other saints. And it was wonderful. I enjoyed it.
Mm. And First Lady, how about for you?
It was a big adjustment. It was one I didn't want to really leave my mom because she was sickly, but he allowed me to come back a week before he got out of the military to spend with her before he got out, to take care of her and see about her. And when every other weekend he would take me to Chicago because she moved from the Quad Cities to Chicago to see her and spend that weekend with her, and until she passed. It was an adjustment. It was a getting to know, and I found out that he's a friendly person no matter what situation he's in or where he goes. He just believe in, and then I felt about he loves to talk to people. He loves to be around people. So it was an adjustment. It was getting to know him, and my pastor helped us in our first segment of our marriage. He actually took us out to get our first car.
Oh, wow.
And he did a lot of things for us in showing us how to do things and how to walk together in a marriage and how to put God first. And Bishop became he worked on evangelistic, and he would walk to church to get the bus driver, and he would take some of his kids with him. And it was an adjustment, but we made it. It's always in your mind and your heart. And I knew from what my pastor had told me that he was an outstanding young man. And I trusted my pastor, and this is what I found him to be.
So it sounded like what you're saying was that even though you two had start off in marriage, you still had the support of your church to kind of help you make the marriage work and get through those first few years that for most couples are troublesome. But it sounded like you guys had a lot of support from your pastor, even though you were now married, you went from dating to married, you still had that support of your pastor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then now I'm gonna kind of get to a couple of other things. Who's more outspoken? Because at first, like you mentioned that he's more social, but who's more outspoken?
I didn't say a word.
No. I'm not going to agree on totally with that. But the part that he did, he's more outspoken because he did all the ministries and preparing himself for his ministry. He did the jail ministry, the prison ministry, and he did the evangelistic team. He was under Elder Robert Young of the National Evangelistic Team. He worked along with him, and he did. So I would say he's more outspoken. I just did hospital ministries, visiting the sick and praying for them, and evangelizing. I was on the evangelistic committee, and let me see. I did. I learned how to do things by ushering and how to meet people through ushering on the national level. So, and on the district level. So I still say he's more outspoken than me.
Now, has that changed throughout the marriage? Because we know time changes everything a lot of times. And who's out most? Is there times where it's different, or does it stay the same way throughout the whole marriage?
It changes to a certain degree because other people come into your life, and also your family began to increase, where it's not just you and her, and then you meet other people as well. But as far as the relationship and the bonding, it's strengthening, and it's very encouraging. I enjoy it.
All right.
It changes. Depends on your situation. It changes. Sometimes I'm more outspoken than he is, and sometimes he's more outspoken than me. And it's just I'm learning how to be that woman that would that's reserved. I'm learning that.
You're learning that?
Yeah.
That kind of you touched on, Bishop, you mentioned that the kids come in line. How many kids do y'all have?
Well, you want to go first?
We have 6. 4 boys.
4 boys and 2 girls.
4 boys and 2 girls. And we're not going to tell everybody who the favorite is, but we keep it right there.
No, I can't be partial. Yeah.
I always say I love all 6, but all in different ways.
I love all, and I think that's a very good point. Is because a lot of times people think that you have to love all of your kids equally. You just love them differently.
Correct.
And it matches who they are, and you give them all the love in their respect.
Right.
And if you could, I know, tell us a little bit about your what it was like going from married as 2 people to married with 6 kids.
It was like more responsibility, and because you had more to be concerned about. You had more mouth to feed. You had more bodies to clothe. You had to spend more time with each one of them individually. Less time for yourself because you're giving more time to others. But it's all what you invested in, it'll come back to you in tenfold. The blessing that you put into them, the teaching, it will benefit because it will profit their life, and they will have a base to start from and to grow to.
Good.
So I enjoy it. No regrets.
All right.
Children are a heritage to you, and they're a blessing. It's when you have them, you got to realize that you got to put yourself back and to raise your children. And our first child was born while he was in the military, and being away from home, having a baby, and I always tell him I never would want to do that again, is to have a baby in the military. But it's but raising my child and helping them and to grow and mold and shape them, and you don't realize you're shaping a life into the world. You bring in someone that has that characteristics that you want them to have, and the qualities that you want them to have, and to see that little infant grow to be a grown man or woman, and to see what you have put inside of them. It's to me, it's a beautiful thing.
Good. And you mentioned about the first child was born in the military, so it was in Texas. So obviously you guys moved back to Davenport, Iowa, where you currently reside. And just kind of going back, what role or how did the church help in you having your children and raising your children? What role did your pastor play in that there?
Pastor played the role of a father, counselor, and taught how to provide and to make sure you be the father or the kind of father that your child can respect and depend on you when they need you. So it was it was a very good church that was set up and arranged to help you if you were single, to help you if you was married, if you was a senior person in the church. You had respect for your elders. So it was a very good church. The pastor was very structured, and that made a lot of difference to me because I came up without a father, and the pastor was the father figure that I didn't have. So I enjoyed it, and the older women was mother figures for the younger women. So it was real good. I enjoyed it.
All right. First Lady, how did that pastor role, church role affect you as a mother and raising your children?
It didn't affect me, but it taught me some things. And the older women in the church really helped me. And I would say there's one particular older sister, well, two, that really helped me out in raising my kids. And they taught me how to do and what to do with them and how to train them and to not let everybody chastise your children and don't let everybody tell your children what to do. And I always talk about Mother Perkins and Pastor Dawkins were two that really stood by me. And Evangelist Soto, they all of them are deceased now. They really stuck by me and helped me out in raising my kids. So I would say the church is a supposed to be there to help you to grow and to train and to teach you. And that's what they did for me. They helped me out a lot in raising my kids and telling me what to do and what not to do, and what foods to cook and what foods not to cook. And they taught me how to take care of my husband, and his grandmother taught me, I'm not going to forget her too, but to make sure I got up and send him with a lunch every day, and raising the kids, make sure the kids go to school with a nice lunch. So the church taught me a lot.
Okay. So if you could, real quick, we know marriages. Let me ask this question here. Who's more romantic?
Do you want me to stand? Oh. There she is.
Would you agree, First Lady?
Absolutely. That's one thing that our pastor did put in there in me is the do's and the don'ts, and being romantic. He's more into church, and I'm not saying I'm not in the church, but he's more into the people and the structure of the church. And by me raising the 6 kids, it kind of it took some things to do, but yes, I am more romantic than he is.
Okay. He tried to show some romance right there.
He's showing off.
Good stuff. And if you could, real quick, we know all marriages face challenges, and we know that there are challenges, and that if you were to tell our viewers and our listeners the best way to overcome challenges in your marriage, what would you tell
them? Learn to trust each other in your present and when they're absent from your present. Know one another. It's very important, because you will not always be together like you want to. But it's how you conduct and how you carry yourself will help increase that trust in your spouse. Have a good name within and without is very, very important. You're not going to get perfect, but you should strive to the best of your ability to keep your mate, spouse, believing in you. Take your time when you hear things. Don't just be so quickly to call each other liars or these things. Those are negative things. Learn to speak positive things. I think that they are very important because trust is something that, if your marriage is not built on, it's going to start deteriorating and coming apart. Talk and communication is very important. I don't do that much talk, but she does. So I do more listening. And it's just giving each other respect. And it makes it easier to communicate when you respect one another. So that's one of the things I get out of being married that has been very helpful to me. Don't try to discuss things when you're upset. That's too much pressure, and you end up thinking that the other one is not giving you that attention and things like that. So That's what I find it.
Building a marriage, trust is very important in a marriage, and believing in one another. Don't take advice, everybody's advice. Know who you're taking your advice from, and know that there are going to be people who don't want you together, who will try to stir up the hornet's nest. And you got to follow and check things out and see if they're true. And don't just say, well, this here, but you gotta, the biggest thing is if you got your faith and trust in God and build it up, it will help you. God will be your biggest thing. And I found out through a lot of my situations, I want to go and talk to people, but God always says, you can talk to me.
Wow.
And I always tell myself, I can talk to him and I don't have to worry about anything. So I've learned to put myself into praying and giving myself over to praying and asking God for help and for guidance, because I wanted to be a good wife and a good mother. And I needed the guidance that I wanted. I needed that kind of guidance. And I had a couple of sisters who told me the prayer works. And I found out by putting myself into praying and fasting and studying my Bible, it helped me. Instead of listening to whatever everybody brings to you, just start putting yourself into God. If you got a good relationship with God, then you have a good, solid marriage. And that's what I had to learn to do, is putting myself into God and praying and fasting. And it helped me out a whole lot.
Wow. It's very interesting that you mentioned that. And both of you talk about trust in God, that fasting and praying will play such a big role in keeping you together. That's good. That's real good. And if I could, I know our time is getting close to an end, but when one thing I want to touch on and kind of get you guys' opinion, because you've been married for almost 58 years, come October 15, is with all the big chatter about submission, non-submission, what advice would you give our viewers and our watchers about that particular topic?
I would say when you go into it, the marriage, have an open mind. She is not your little girl, and he is not your little boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important. You both are adult, and you're not trying to raise her or trying to raise him, because if they was not grown, why did you marry them at all?
Good.
Ain't no use of trying to raise her when she's grown. Don't try to put your hands on her, because you have to go to jail or have some short hands. Avoid foolish things. Stay away from people that giving you bad or wrong advice. You look for someone to help save your marriage, not make it worse or to destroy it. So make sure that confidentiality things here are respected. And learn to trust each other when they're present and then when they are absent. And I think you'll be on the right trail to a very successful marriage.
One of my most favorite scriptures in the Bible is the Proverbs 31 woman. And when that was given to me to read by one of the pastors. She's gone on to be with the Lord now. And I listened to it, and she knew I was struggling with some things. I read it, and when I got to, and I asked God to give me an understanding, when she learned how to do certain things, and the submission is the woman is not the head of the household,
Mm.
the man is. We are thinking that we're the head, we're equal. That's not how God did it. And when I sit back and I look at the Proverbs 31 woman, and I look at the way God designed the things in the Bible, it began to really work on me. I can't work on him. And not, don't get me wrong, I tried, but I had to reach back and start working on myself and trying to help myself to grow and to be what God wanted me to be, not what man wanted me to be. And when I began to be that and start doing that, and by fasting and praying, things in my life started turning around. And I could see certain things. But until you really get yourself grounded in the church and in God, you won't see those things. You always be in tussle and turmoil. But I learned to put my trust in God. And you have to keep an open communication. I'm more of a talker than Bishop Walker. And he somehow has started becoming the talker, and I become the silent one. And then this time we both talk. But you have to have respect for one another. If I'm going to try to make you be what I want you to be, it'll never work.
Mm.
So I'm going to let you be who God wants you to be. And I'm just going to take it to pray for you. And this one pastor told me about being his armor bearer. And I always tell people this. It's not me carrying his Bible and stuff, but me keeping him up before God and keeping praying that God would give him the things that I would like to see him have. And that's love, joy, peace, happiness. And when I started praying for him, and she was telling me that how the enemy goes in and tries to mess with him. She said, just keep him up before God and ask God to cover him. And you'll see everything will work out okay. And that's what I started doing. And God has really started to bless me. And he noticed I kind of keep quiet some. And but she helped me out. And that's when it comes to saying the aged women are to teach the younger women. And that's what the older women did to me. And they taught me and they helped me. And I appreciate it.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I'm hearing a common theme of trust. And one thing, Bishop, you had mentioned about you're not to raise her.
Correct.
And she's not to raise you.
Correct.
And firstly, you keep going back to prayer and fasting and I guess those are some of the common themes that I'm hearing in doing that. I know the debate on submission is real big, and I know submission looks different in every marriage. And there's got to be something to it. It's worked almost 58 years in October. And as we get ready to come around to the close, I want to ask you another question. Do you guys have any personal hobbies?
Yeah. I used to work, do a lot of activity in the community. And now I kind of tapered down a little bit. Right now, a lot of my attention outside of church is the garden. I find a lot of things that helps me spiritually and naturally in the garden. it keeps me busy, it keeps me occupied, it keeps me focused. And there's a blessing. I think about of all the places that God could have put Adam and Eve from all his creation that he had made, Niagara Falls, the Himalaya mountains, and God, the ocean, the sea,
Mm.
the desert, but he put them in the garden. Everything that they needed was there in that garden. We just have to spend some time to find it out.
Wow.
Quiet place. You can
That's
clear
good.
your mind. Place you can fill yourself up with good, healthy, protein food. Clear the mind. It's so much I find there that's interested. It's like going to the church. It's wonderful. So that's just me. Maybe somebody's called me to be in the garden.
First Lady, how about you?
I agree with him with the gardens because I grew up with gardens. My father had plenty of gardens. Then he had a garden. But I later on, after having children, I found myself sewing and making clothes and doing things. And I love to bake. I love to cook. As I'm getting older, I'm finding that it's life changes, but I still love to bake. And I oftentimes look at recipes and feel like I can do this. But I always tell myself I'm going to bake this one day. And I love to bake because it relaxes me.
Mm.
It keeps my mind focused. It keeps my mind going. And I can do and just canning it gives you that calmness and you see what God has grown and what he has brought home. I can take what he has brought home and I can put it to something, because it's like the other day I made 2 batches of homemade bread and butter pickles. Now I'm getting ready to make some cha-cha. And
All right.
oh please. I'm gonna make my grandson is like making zucchini breads and I used to watch my aunt do these things. But it relaxes your mind and it keeps your mind focused where you don't do a whole lot of daydreaming and mind wandering because those are tools of the enemy. He tries to take your mind from you. But I found out that's a big help to me is baking and cooking and sewing. It used to be relaxing. It taught you how to do things. So I'm relaxed when I bake and when I cook. And I tell my favorite place in the house is the kitchen. I just sit in the kitchen and I think about what I can do and how I can do it. Just sitting there. And and I can go in the basement, I can pray without disturbing anybody. So these are things that I love to do is to cook, bake. I can't do it like I want to. My hands don't work like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But I love to bake. So I'm going home this evening and I'm gonna do some baking for my little Sunday school students.
I could be in your Sunday school class. and last question I wanted to ask before we go ahead and sign off was, what have you learned now versus what you knew then? What are 2 things, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would you tell them with regards to your marriage?
You want to go first?
I would go back and tell myself, don't take everybody's advice and don't listen to what everybody tells you. Listen to what God tells you.
All right, Bishop.
Uh, birds of a feather flock together. You're known by the company you keep.
Mhm.
Uh, be a man of your word, a woman of your word. Love God foremost in your life. Uh, try to see how you can be that individual that comes to you for help. And if not, try to be able to direct them to someone who has the better qualities or be able to help them. Uh, and I think God will reward you for what you can do and acknowledge the fact that you don't have all the answers. There are others that has the answers or better answer, a better way. Don't allow jealousy to creep in and divide you and to separate you.
Mm. Well, that thank Bishop and Lady Walker for being on with us this evening. They've truly given us some nuggets to take with us, and just want to let everybody know, like we said before, each and every marriage looks different. And this marriage has been together for almost 58 years on October 15th, 58 years. So they know something that works. And I hope we've said something tonight that will help you in your relationship, in your marriage. And if nothing else, we can tell you, trust God and
Correct.
you can't go wrong. Trust God and you can't go wrong. Thank you. You take care. Y'all have a great and awesome day.
Thank you very much.